blessed beings. Welcome back to Shelter in the Storm with A Course in Miracles lesson number 43. Okay, let's continue with, we're still in part 5 of chapter 3, Beyond Perception. I'll backtrack by one sentence. The idea of changing your image recognizes the power of perception, but also implies that there is nothing stable to know. Knowing is not open to interpretation. You may try to interpret meaning, but this is always open to error because it refers to the perception of meaning. Let me read that part again. Knowing is not open to interpretation. You may try to interpret meaning, but this is always open to error because it refers to the perception of meaning. Such incongruities are the result of attempts to regard yourself as separated and unseparated at the same time. It is impossible to make so fundamental a confusion without increasing your overall confusion still further. Your mind may have become very ingenious, but as always happens when method and content are separated, it is utilized in a futile attempt to escape from an inescapable impasse. Ingenuity is totally divorced from knowledge, because knowledge does not require ingenuity. Ingenious thinking is not the truth that shall set you free, but you are free of the need to engage in it when you are willing to let it go. Prayer is a way of asking for something. It is a medium of miracles. But the only meaningful prayer is for forgiveness, because those who have been forgiven have everything. Once forgiveness has been accepted, prayer in the usual sense becomes utterly meaningless. The prayer for forgiveness is nothing more than a request that you may be able to recognize what you already have. In electing perception instead of knowledge, you placed yourself in a position where you could resemble your Father, only by perceiving miraculously. You have lost the knowledge that you yourself are a miracle of God. Creation is your source and your only real function. The statement, God created man in his own image and likeness, needs reinterpretation. Image can be understood as thought, and likeness as of a like quality. God did create spirit in his own thought and of a quality like to his own. There is nothing else. Perception, on the other hand, is impossible without a belief in more and less. At every level, it involves selectivity. Perception is a continual process of accepting and rejecting, organizing and reorganizing, shifting and changing. Evaluation as an essential part of perception, because judgments are necessary in order to select. What happens to perception if there are no judgments and nothing but perfect equality? Perception becomes impossible. Okay, so we'll finish part 5 of chapter 3 tomorrow. Let's move on to lesson 43. God is my source. I cannot see apart from Him. Perception is not an attribute of God. His is the realm of knowledge. Yet He has created the Holy Spirit as the mediator between perception and knowledge. Without this link with God, perception would have replaced knowledge forever in your mind. With this link with God, perception will become so changed and purified that it will lead to knowledge. That is its function as the Holy Spirit sees it. Therefore, that is its function in truth. In God you cannot see. Perception has no function in God and does not exist. Yet in salvation, which is the undoing of what never was, perception has a mighty purpose. Made by the Son of God for an unholy purpose, it must become the means for the restoration of His holiness to His awareness. Perception has no meaning. Yet does the Holy Spirit give it a meaning very close to God's. Healed perception becomes the means by which the Son of God forgives his brother and thus forgives himself. You cannot see apart from God because you cannot be apart from God. Whatever you do in Him, because whatever you think with His mind. If vision is real, and it is real to the extent to which it shares the Holy Spirit's purpose, then you cannot see apart from God. 3 5-minute practice periods are required today, one as early and one as late as possible in the day. The third may be undertaken at the most convenient and suitable time that circumstances and readiness permit. At the beginning of these practice periods, repeat the idea for today to yourself with eyes open. Then glance around you for a short time, applying the idea specifically to what you see. 4 or 5 subjects for this phase of the practice period are sufficient. You might say, for example, God is my source. I cannot see this desk apart from Him. God is my source. I cannot see that picture apart from Him. Although this part of the exercise period should be relatively short, be sure that you select the subjects for this phase of the practice indiscriminately, without self-directed inclusion or exclusion. For the second and longer phase, close your eyes, repeat today's idea again, and then let whatever relevant thoughts occur to you add to the idea in your own personal way. Thoughts such as, I see through the eyes of forgiveness. I see the world as blessed. The world can show me myself. I see my own thoughts, which are like God's. Any thought related more or less directly to today's idea is suitable. The thoughts need not bear any obvious relationship to the idea, but they should not be in opposition to it. If you find your mind wandering, if you begin to be aware of thoughts which are clearly out of accord with today's idea, or if you seem to be unable to think of anything, open your eyes, repeat the first phase of the exercise period, and then attempt the second phase again. Do not allow any protracted period to occur in which you become preoccupied with irrelevant thoughts. Return to the first phase of the exercises as often as necessary to prevent this. In applying today's idea in the shorter practice periods, the form may vary according to the circumstances and situations in which you find yourself during the day. When you are with someone else, for example, try to remember to tell him silently, "God is my source. I cannot see you apart from Him." This form is equally applicable to strangers as it is to those you think are closer to you. In fact, try not to make any distinctions of this kind at all. Today's idea should also be applied throughout the day to various situations and events that may occur, particularly to those which seem to distress you in any way. For this purpose, apply the idea in this form. God is my source. I cannot see this apart from Him. If no particular subject presents itself to your awareness at the time, merely repeat the idea in its original form. Try today not to allow any long periods of time to slip by without remembering today's idea, and thus remembering your function. Okay, so that's the how-to of lesson 43. Let's move along to Jesus commentary for lesson 43. God is my source. I cannot see apart from Him. And she's got the little heart glasses on. I love it. I love it. You are blessed beings. Indeed. I am that one you know as Jesus. It is important for you to see that God is your source. It is the miraculous, benevolent, life-giving energy and power of your vital life force. You are not a random occurrence in the universe. You are designed and specifically created by that which you call God. Now, you have come down into separation, and you have forgotten who and what you are and why you are here. That is why you are doing these lessons, to remind you of your sanctity and the unique place you hold in the mind of God. You are not more special than anyone else, but as a unique manifestation of the mind of God. It is important for you to remember that you have particular qualities that will become more evident as you remove untrue ideas and confusions from your mind. Many of you struggle with this. You wonder about your purpose. You wish you could have a better job or some inspired career to fulfill your life. These things become more apparent as you clean up the detritus and garbage from your mind. That is something logical to think about. If you have too many untrue ideas, contamination in your mind, you won't clearly receive the guidance you need to make those decisions. This is why so many of you have confused lives, unhealthy bodies, or distorted and dysfunctional relationships. You have too many things in your mind that confuse you because they are not true, yet you act as if they are true. You think you are a body, and you think you will die when your body dies. This is not true. You are not a body. You enliven the body. You are the creator of the body in the sense that it cannot exist without you. You do not need it. However, this will become a more comfortable belief and idea for you as you go through these lessons and practice them as you have been guided. You are a beautiful idea in the mind of God. You have always been, and you will always be. The body comes and goes, and it is not who you are. Do not think it is. In my earthly incarnation, I went to the cross to prove I was not the body that people thought I was. I reached the point in my evolution where I knew this, and I had no contaminating ideas in my mind that caused me suffering, disconnected me from my Father, or caused me to fear. I went through that experience to demonstrate my ability to overcome the physical, material world, and that is what we are working toward. Everything I did, you too can do as you evolve, clarify, and walk closer to love. I am that one you know as Jesus. We do not expect you to believe this wholeheartedly, but we tell you to remind yourself that you are, indeed, the same as me. I am merely your older brother, who has walked further and for much longer on the road toward love. I call you to come with me. I call you to walk with me on that road, for that road has no suffering. I am that one you know as Jesus. We will see you again tomorrow. Namaste, beautiful ones.